The fluorescent lights in Walmart always made everything feel a little too bright, a little too exposed. I was standing in line, half listening to the beeps of the register, when I noticed her. She was ahead of me, clutching a handful of coupons and a battered wallet, her shoulders hunched as if she could fold herself out of sight. The cashier scanned her groceries, just the basics, nothing indulgent, and announced the total. The woman's face fell. She fumbled with her cards, her hands trembling, and I could see the flush creeping up her neck. The line behind us grew restless. Someone sighed loudly. Another person muttered under their breath. The woman apologized, voice barely above a whisper, as the cashier tried her card again. Declined. She started to sort through her groceries, setting aside a carton of eggs, then a loaf of bread, her eyes shining with humiliation. I felt a pang in my chest. I'd been there before years ago, when every dollar mattered. The memory stung. People stared, some with pity, others with annoyance. The woman's lips quivered as she tried to smile, but it was the kind of smile that begged the world not to look too closely. I glanced at my own cart, at the things I didn't really need, and something inside me shifted. I stepped forward, quietly telling the cashier to put her groceries on my bill. The woman looked at me, startled, her eyes wide with disbelief. She tried to protest, but I just shook my head, offering a small, reassuring smile. "It's okay," I said softly. "Let me help." I didn't know her, but something told me I had to help. What I didn't realize was how much this moment would change my life. I never thought of myself as a hero. Most days, I was just trying to keep my head above water, like everyone else. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, at least on the surface. I worked a steady job at the local insurance office, paid my bills on time, and tried to be the kind of person my late mother would have been proud of. She always said, "Kindness is the only thing you can give away and still keep." I clung to that, especially after she passed. Losing her was the hardest thing I'd ever faced, and for a while I drifted, unsure of who I was without her steady presence. Money was tight back then. I remember counting out coins at the register, praying I had enough for milk and bread, feeling the heat of strangers' eyes on my back. Those memories never really left me. Maybe that's why I noticed the woman at Walmart. Maybe that's why her struggle felt so familiar. That morning, I'd woken up feeling restless. My apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses in on you. I'd been meaning to pick up a few things, coffee, laundry detergent, a frozen pizza for dinner. Nothing urgent, just the usual routine. But as I drove to Walmart, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like I was walking into a story that wasn't mine. The parking lot was crowded, families wrangling kids, couples arguing over shopping lists, the usual chaos. I slipped inside, blending into the flow of people, my mind wandering as I navigated the aisles. I thought about my job, the endless paperwork, the polite small talk with clients who never remembered my name. I thought about my mother, about how she used to make even the most ordinary days feel special. I missed that warmth, that sense of belonging. As I filled my cart, I caught glimpses of the woman from earlier, moving quietly through the store. She looked tired, her clothes worn but clean, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She moved with a kind of carefulness, as if she was trying not to take up too much space. I watched her compare prices, put things back, hesitate over a box of cereal before finally placing it in her cart. There was something about her that tugged at me, a vulnerability I recognized from my own past. I wondered what her story was, what had brought her here today. I wondered if anyone else noticed her, or if she was just another face in the crowd. By the time I reached the checkout, I'd almost forgotten about her. I was lost in my own thoughts, thinking about bills and deadlines and the quiet ache of loneliness that sometimes crept in at the end of the day. But then I saw her again, standing at the register, her face pale and anxious. The scene unfolded in slow motion, the declined card, the awkward silence, the way she tried to shrink into herself as the line grew impatient. I felt a surge of empathy, a reminder of all the times I'd needed help and been too proud to ask. I thought I was just another shopper that day, but fate had other plans. In that moment, I realized how easily our lives could intersect, how a single act of kindness could ripple outward in ways we might never expect. I didn't know it yet, but my decision to help her would set off a chain of events that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself, about others, and about the hidden stories we all carry. The line at the checkout seemed to stretch on forever, impatience simmering in the air. I watched as the woman ahead of me placed her groceries on the conveyor belt, her hands moving with a nervous precision. The cashier greeted her, but she barely managed a nod, her eyes fixed on the total as each item was scanned. When the final number flashed on the screen, $149.87, she reached for her wallet, her fingers trembling. She handed over a faded debit card, biting her lip as the cashier slid it through the reader. A long, uncomfortable pause. Declined. The word seemed to echo, louder than it should have. The woman's face crumpled. She apologized, voice cracking, and fumbled for another card. Declined again. The people behind me shifted, some rolling their eyes, others whispering to each other. The cashier's smile faded, replaced by a look of practiced sympathy. The woman began to sort through her groceries, pulling out a carton of eggs, then a bag of apples, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped them. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her cheeks burning with shame. I thought I had enough." The cashier offered to set the items aside, but the woman shook her head, clearly mortified. I could feel the tension building, the silent judgment of the crowd pressing in on her. I remembered that feeling all too well, the sense of being exposed, of wishing you could disappear. Without thinking, I stepped forward. "I'll cover it," I said quietly, sliding my own card across the counter. The cashier hesitated, then nodded, ringing up the total. The woman stared at me, stunned, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You don't have to," she started, but I shook my head, offering a gentle smile. "It's okay. Really." She tried to protest, but her words caught in her throat. Tears welled in her eyes as she mouthed a shaky thank you. I shrugged it off, not wanting to make a scene. "We all need a little help sometimes," I said softly, hoping to ease her embarrassment. As the cashier bagged her groceries, the woman reached for my hand, squeezing it with a gratitude that felt almost overwhelming. I could see how much it meant to her, how this small act had lifted a weight she'd been carrying alone. She tried to ask my name, but I just smiled and told her not to worry about it. I wanted to slip away, to blend back into the crowd, but for a moment, it felt like the whole world had stopped to watch us. The woman gathered her bags, still blinking back tears, and offered one last, heartfelt thank you before hurrying out of the store. I paid for my own groceries, my heart pounding, and left the store without looking back. I told myself it was nothing, just a simple gesture, something anyone would have done. I thought that was the end of it. I had no idea what was about to unfold. The next morning, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. The handwriting was shaky but careful, the words simple, "Thank you for your kindness." You have no idea what it meant to me. There was no name, just a small heart drawn at the bottom. I stood in the parking lot, the paper fluttering in my hand, feeling a strange mix of warmth and unease. I hadn't told anyone about what happened at Walmart, but somehow the story seemed to travel on its own. At work, my coworker Jenna cornered me by the coffee machine, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I heard you helped someone at Walmart yesterday." "That was really sweet of you," she said, but there was a note of skepticism in her voice, as if she was waiting for the punchline. I shrugged it off, not wanting to make a big deal out of it, but the attention made me uncomfortable. That evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, half expecting a telemarketer. Instead, a soft voice greeted me. "I just wanted to say thank you again. You saved me yesterday." My heart skipped. It was her. She didn't say her name, and before I could ask, she hung up. The call left me unsettled, a lingering sense of something unfinished. Over the next few days, I started noticing her around town, sitting quietly in the at the park, watching children play from a distance. Each time, she seemed to vanish before I could approach her. It was as if she was everywhere and nowhere at once, a ghost haunting the edges of my routine. My friends had mixed reactions when I finally shared the story. Some, like Jenna, thought it was touching. You did the right thing, she insisted, squeezing my arm. Others were less convinced. My brother, always the cynic, warned me to be careful. You never know with people these days. What if she's running some kind of scam, he said, his tone half joking, half serious. I tried to laugh it off, but his words stuck with me. Was I being naive? Had I made a mistake? The doubts crept in, especially as small inconveniences began to pile up. My mailbox was stuffed with junk mail, more than usual. My car alarm went off in the middle of the night, startling me awake. At first, I chalked it up to coincidence, but the pattern was hard to ignore. Rumors started to swirl, too. At the grocery store, I overheard two women whispering about a mystery benefactor who'd helped someone in need. One of them glanced in my direction, her eyes narrowing. I heard she's not really poor, you know. Some people just know how to play the system, she said, her voice dripping with suspicion. I felt a flush of embarrassment, suddenly self-conscious. Was I being talked about? Was my act of kindness being twisted into something foolish or gullible? The uncertainty gnawed at me, making me question my own motives. Had I helped her out of genuine compassion? Or was I just trying to feel better about myself? Despite the doubts, I couldn't shake the memory of her gratitude, the way her eyes had filled with tears. I wanted to believe I'd done the right thing, but the strange coincidences and the whispers around town made it hard to hold onto that certainty. I started to avoid places where I might run into her, not out of fear, but out of confusion. I didn't know what she wanted from me, or if she wanted anything at all. Maybe she was just as lost as I was, trying to find her footing in a world that could be so unforgiving. But then, things started happening that I couldn't explain. The uncertainty gnawed at me until I couldn't ignore it any longer. I needed answers, not just to quiet the rumors, but to understand why this woman lingered in my thoughts. One Saturday morning, I found myself back at Walmart, retracing my steps from that day. The cashier who'd helped us was working again, her name tag reading Maya. I waited until her line was empty, then approached, my voice low. Do you remember the woman I helped last week? Maya nodded, her expression softening. She comes in sometimes. Always polite, always careful with her money. I think she's had a rough time. I pressed for more, but Maya just shrugged. People talk, you know. Some say she lost her husband last year. Others think she's just looking for handouts. I don't know what to believe. I left the store feeling more conflicted than ever. Determined, I stopped by the library, hoping the staff might know her. The librarian, Mrs. Carter, recognized my description immediately. That's Anna. She's quiet, keeps to herself. Used to volunteer here before things changed. She hesitated, then leaned in. Her son was in an accident last year. She's been struggling ever since. Some people judge, but they don't know what she's been through. The pieces didn't quite fit. Was Anna a victim of circumstance, or was there truth to the whispers about her taking advantage of people's kindness? I walked through town, replaying every detail in my mind. At the coffee shop, I overheard a group of women gossiping. She's always got a sob story, one said. I heard she's been asking for help all over town. Another shook her head. No, I heard she used to be a teacher. Lost everything after her husband died. The stories contradicted each other, leaving me more confused than before. Was I a fool for helping her, or was there something more to her story? That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the thank you note she'd left on my car. The handwriting was shaky, but the words felt genuine. I wanted to believe in the best of people, but doubt crept in, whispering that maybe I'd been played. Still, something inside me resisted that cynicism. I remember the look in Anna's eyes, the way her gratitude seemed to come from a place of real pain. I realized I had a choice. I could let suspicion harden me, or I could hold on to hope, even if it meant risking disappointment. I didn't know which was right, but I knew I had to find out the truth, no matter where it led. A week passed, then another. Life settled into its usual rhythm, but the questions about Anna never left me. I tried to focus on work, on the mundane details of daily life, but every time I passed the Walmart parking lot or saw a mother with her child, I thought of her. I wondered if she was okay, if she'd found the help she needed, or if she was still struggling in silence. The rumors still swirled, but I'd stopped listening. I wanted the truth, not gossip. One rainy afternoon, I was dropping off a donation at the local community center. The place was buzzing with activity, kids running through the halls, volunteers sorting boxes of food and clothes, the smell of coffee and baked goods drifting from the kitchen. I almost didn't see her at first. She was sitting at a folding table near the back, her hair pulled back, a stack of papers in front of her. She looked tired, but there was a quiet determination in her posture. I hesitated, unsure if I should approach, but something compelled me forward. She looked up as I neared, recognition flickering in her eyes. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the noise of the room fading into the background. "Hi," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She smiled, a real smile this time, and gestured for me to sit. "I was hoping I'd see you again," she said softly. "I never got to thank you properly." I shook my head, embarrassed. "You don't have to thank me. It was nothing." She reached across the table, her hand covering mine. "It wasn't nothing. You have no idea what that day meant to me." She took a deep breath, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I haven't always needed help. I used to be a teacher. I loved my job, loved the kids. But after my husband died, everything changed. My son was in an accident last year. The medical bills wiped us out. I lost my job when I had to take care of him. I tried to keep it together, but some days it just felt impossible." Her voice trembled, but she pressed on. "That day at Walmart, I was at my breaking point. I didn't know how I was going to feed my son. I felt invisible, like no one saw me anymore. And then you stepped in. You didn't make a scene. You didn't judge me. You just helped. It reminded me that there's still kindness in the world." I listened, my heart aching for her. I thought of all the times I'd felt alone, all the moments when a small act of kindness had made a difference. "I'm so sorry," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I wish I could do more." She squeezed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "You already did. That $150, it wasn't just groceries. It was hope. It was a reminder that I wasn't alone." She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder, sliding it across the table. "I want you to have this," she said. I opened it, confused, and found a letter of recommendation, written in her careful handwriting. "I heard you're looking for a new job," she said, smiling through her tears. "My brother runs the after-school program here. He's always looking for people who care. I told him about you, about what you did for me. He wants to meet you." I stared at her, stunned. I don't know what to say. She laughed, a sound full of relief and gratitude. "Just say you'll give yourself a chance. You helped me when I needed it most. Let me do the same for you." In that moment, I realized my life would never be the same. The simple act of paying for someone's groceries had come full circle, opening a door I never even knew existed. As I left the community center, letter in hand, I felt a sense of possibility I hadn't felt in years. The rain had stopped, and sunlight streamed through the clouds, painting the world in gold. I looked back and saw Anna watching me, her son by her side, both of them waving. I waved back, my heart full. I understood now that kindness isn't just about giving. It's about connecting, about seeing each other's humanity, about believing that even the smallest gesture can change the course of a life. I walked home that day with a new sense of purpose, the weight of doubt and suspicion finally lifting. I knew there would still be hard days, still be moments of uncertainty, but I also knew I wasn't alone. Anna's story had become part of mine, and together, we'd found a way forward. I thought back to that moment at Walmart, to the decision I'd made without thinking, and realized it was never really about the money. It was about hope, about faith in strangers, about the quiet power of compassion. And as I stepped into the light, I knew I would never forget the lesson Anna had given me. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can lead to the biggest change of all. The days that followed felt like waking up. I started working at the after-school program, nervous at first, but quickly finding my footing among the laughter and the chaos of the kids. Anna's mother, Mark, welcomed me with open arms, and soon I was part of a team that felt more like family than coworkers. The children's energy was infectious, The whispers were different. People stopped me at the grocery store, at the park, even at the post office, to say they've heard about what I've done. Some shared their own stories of struggle, of moments when a stranger's kindness had changed everything. Others simply smiled, a silent acknowledgement that we were all in this together. The skepticism and rumors faded, replaced by a sense of pride and unity I hadn't felt in years. Anna, too, began to blossom. With the support of the community center and a few new friends, she found steady work tutoring children and organizing events. Her son, once so withdrawn, started to open up, his laughter echoing through the halls. I watched as Anna regained her confidence, her warmth returning with every small victory. We became close, sharing coffee after work, trading stories about our past and dreams for the future. She told me once that she'd almost given up hope before that day at Walmart, and I realized how easily any of us could slip through the cracks if not for a helping hand. My own relationships deepened as well. My brother, who'd once doubted my decision, apologized for his cynicism. "You proved me wrong," he admitted, clapping me on the back. "I'm proud of you." Even Jenna, my skeptical coworker, started volunteering at the center, inspired by the ripple effect of one small act. I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't known I was missing, a connection to the people around me that made every day feel meaningful. I often thought back to that moment at the checkout, to the choice I'd made without hesitation. It struck me how easily I could have walked away, how different my life would be if I had. Instead, that single act of kindness had transformed not just Anna's life, but mine as well. I learned that compassion isn't just about grand gestures, it's about the quiet, everyday choices we make to see and support one another. But the biggest surprise was still to come. Months have passed since that day at Walmart, but its impact still ripples through my life in ways I never could have imagined. Sometimes I catch myself marveling at how a single, ordinary afternoon became the turning point for everything that followed. I still work at the after-school program, and every time I see a child's face light up with understanding or hear Anna's laughter echo down the hallway, I'm reminded of how much can change with one small act of kindness. Looking back, I realize that fate has a way of weaving people together when they need it most. If I hadn't stopped at Walmart that day, I would have missed the most important lesson of my life. That empathy is a force more powerful than we know, and that the connections we make, often by accident, can shape our futures in ways we never expect. Anna and I are still close, our friendship a testament to the strength that comes from vulnerability and trust. Her son is thriving, and the community center has become a place where hope is restored, not just for us, but for so many others. I've learned that it's easy to judge from a distance, to believe rumors, or let cynicism cloud our view of others. But when we choose to look closer, to reach out instead of turning away, we open ourselves to the possibility of real change. The world is full of unseen struggles and silent battles, but it's also full of people willing to help, if only we let them. I carry that lesson with me every day, a quiet reminder that kindness is never wasted, and that sometimes the smallest gesture can lead to the greatest transformation. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. That day at Walmart taught me that we're all connected, our lives intersecting in ways we may never fully understand. And in those moments when we choose compassion over indifference, we not only change someone else's story, we change our own.